The adoption center sat on the edge of the city, a quiet building with pale walls and tall windows that let the sunlight spill in like liquid gold. Inside, the air smelled faintly of disinfectant and old paper, but it was also the scent of hope, the smell of dreams waiting for a chance to come true. Marla had been walking these halls for nearly 2 years now, helping children find homes, comforting the ones who had none, yet every time a new child arrived, her heart tightened with a mixture of excitement and fear that always came with the unknown. That morning, a strange ship had landed on the outskirts of the city, silent and silver, unlike any human technology. Its presence caused a ripple of whispers among the staff and a few curious onlookers. But to Marla, it was just another beginning. From the ship, a young girl emerged, small and slight, her skin tinged with an unusual shade of blue, faintly glowing under the sunlight. Her hair cascaded in dark waves that seemed to shimmer, yet the moment she stepped forward, Marla noticed the scars, long and jagged across her arms and face, each telling a story she did not yet know. The girl's eyes met Marla's wide and questioning, and she held up a hand, trembling slightly, pointing at the marks that covered her body. "Can ugly girls get adopted too?" she asked softly, her voice carrying both fear and hope. Her fragile bridge Marla was unsure she could cross. Marla felt her chest tighten, her fingers brushing the folder of adoption forms she carried. She wanted to answer quickly, to reassure the girl with words that would matter. But none came at first, just a warm pulse of empathy that made her step closer. The other staff exchanged nervous glances, whispers floating through the room like cautious ghosts. "She's different," someone muttered, as if saying it out loud could somehow change the reality of the girl's alien appearance. Marla knelt slightly, putting herself at the girl's level. "Different doesn't mean unlovable," she said, trying to sound confident. "Can you tell me your name?" The girl hesitated, tilting her head in curiosity, then said, "Lyra," her voice barely above a whisper, yet it carried a weight of resilience that surprised Marla. Lyra's eyes lingered on Marla's hands, then slowly drifted to her own scars. "Again, they don't like me," she said, almost as if stating a fact rather than a fear. "They say I am too strange, too broken." Marla's heart ached as she reached out, carefully brushing a strand of dark hair from Lyra's face, careful not to touch the scars. "I don't think being different makes you broken," she said gently. "It just means the world hasn't seen your value yet." Lyra blinked, her small fingers curling into the edges of a jacket. "Value? Will someone want me?" "Yes," Marla whispered, though uncertainty tugged at her chest. "Yes, someone will, if you let them see who you are inside. Not just what your body looks like." The girl's lips quivered, but for the first time. That day, a tiny flicker of hope appeared in her eyes, like a distant star daring to shine through a cloudy sky. Marla led Lyra into a room lined with beds and soft toys, walls painted in warm colors. But it was clear this place had never seen a visitor quite like her. Lyra's presence made the light bend in strange ways, her alien aura filling the room, with a sense of wonder and fear, all at once. She sat on one of the beds, staring at her hands, the scars twisting across her skin like a map of battles fought alone. "Why did they do this to me?" she murmured, more to herself than to Marla. Marla kneeled beside her, unsure how to answer. "Sometimes people hurt others because they are scared or don't understand," she said softly. "But it wasn't your fault, Lyra. None of it was." The girl's gaze dropped, shadows of past pain clouding her luminous eyes. "Then why would anyone want me?" Marla took a deep breath, letting her heart guide the words. "Because everyone deserves love, Lyra. Not for how they look, not for what they've been through, but for who they are inside. And I think you are very special." For a moment Lyra did not move, her small body tense, as if she were weighing Marla's words against years of rejection. Then, slowly, she reached out her hand, trembling, her fingers brushing Marla's, a silent test, a fragile attempt to trust. The touch sent warmth through Marla, a mixture of fear and joy. She squeezed the hand gently. "I'm glad you reached for me," she said. "That's the first step." The rest of the staff watched quietly, unsure what to make of the scene. But Marla didn't notice, her focus entirely on Lyra, who for the first time allowed herself to breathe a little easier. Maybe even believed that adoption wasn't just a dream for children who were pretty or normal. Maybe it was for anyone who had the courage to hope. Lyra tilted her head, studying Marla with a curious intensity. "Will you help me?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. "I will," Marla said firmly. "I'll help you find a family, and if we can't, I'll be here with you, until we can." Because you are not alone anymore. A small, almost shy smile tugged at Lyra's lips. The first real sign of light in the room since she had arrived. Really? Really? Marla said, and for the first time, she felt that maybe this strange, scarred alien girl had come into her life for a reason. Not just to be helped, but to teach everyone in that room a lesson about love, courage, and seeing beyond. Appearances. The sunlight shifted through the tall windows, catching the faint shimmer of Lyra's blue skin, making the scars look less like wounds and more like constellations. A map of survival, of resilience, and maybe, just maybe, the beginning of hope. Lyra's voice, softer this time, asked one more thing. Even if I am ugly. Marla smiled, brushing the hair from Lyra's face again. Even if you are ugly, she said firmly, you are loved, you are worthy, and you belong. And nothing, not your scars, not your difference, can ever change that. For a long time, they just sat there, hands entwined. Two souls bridging a gap of fear and misunderstanding. One human, one alien. Both learning that love often begins in the quietest, most unexpected moments. And in that silence, a promise was made. One neither could see, yet both felt that no matter what, Lyra would never have to ask the question again. Because here, at least, she was wanted. She was safe. She was home. The afternoon sun filtered through the tall windows, casting long shadows across the room where Lyra sat curled on the small bed, her blue skin shimmering faintly in the warm light. Marla pulled up a chair beside her, unsure where to begin, but knowing she had to start somewhere. Do you want to tell me about them? Marla asked softly, gesturing to the scars that twisted across Lyra's arms like a map of pain. Lyra glanced down at her own hands, tracing the lines with her fingertips as if she could read the story etched into her skin. They remember everything, Lyra whispered, her voice trembling. Every place I've been, every hurt I've felt, every person who left me behind, it's all here. She lifted her arm, showing Marla the deepest scars, jagged and silver against her pale blue skin. I didn't do this to myself, but it feels like it's part of me now. Marla swallowed hard, her heart aching. I can't imagine what that must feel like. Lyra. But you don't have to carry it alone anymore. She reached out tentatively, letting her fingers hover near the scars without touching them. I want to understand you, if you let me. Lyra's eyes flickered with suspicion, but also curiosity. Understand. Humans don't usually like me, she said, voice barely audible. Even the ones who say they want to help, they look at me like I'm broken, like I'm not enough. Marla shook her head, firm and gentle. Not enough isn't true, Lyra. It's what people say when they can't see the person behind the surface, and I don't care about that. I care about you. She paused, letting the words sink in. Your scars don't make you less, they make you brave. Because you survived everything they represent. For a long moment, Lyra stayed silent, her gaze fixed on the floor, the tiny muscles in her jaw working as if she were trying to hold back tears. Then, slowly, she lifted her eyes to Marla. Brave? She asked, uncertainty lacing every syllable. I don't feel brave. I feel ugly, unwanted, and alone. Marla's hand finally brushed lightly against Lyra's arm, careful to avoid the deepest scars. Bravery isn't about looking perfect or being loved by everyone, Lyra. It's about surviving when the world tells you that you won't. And you've done that every single day, haven't you? Lyra's lips trembled, and for the first time, a single tear slid down her cheek, leaving a silver streak on her blue skin. I think so, she whispered. But does anyone else see that? Or do they just see my scars? I see you, Marla said firmly. I see all of you. The light inside that shines even when everything around you is dark. And I know that whoever adopts you will see it too. Once they get to know you, she smiled softly, hoping her words could bridge the gap between Lyra's fear and the love she deserved. The alien girl looked down again, her small fingers fidgeting with the hem of her jacket. It's hard. I've never had anyone care about me before. Not really. Not like this. Her voice cracked slightly. People only take me in when they need something, or when they feel sorry for me. Marla's heart clenched, and she leaned closer. That won't happen with me, Lyra. I don't want pity. I want connection, friendship, and love. And I hope someday I can help you see yourself the way I see you, not as ugly or broken, but as strong and beautiful, inside and out. Lyra's eyes shone with a mixture of fear and tentative hope. You really mean that? She asked, barely above a whisper. I do, Marla said, nodding. I promise. I mean every word. She let silence fill the room for a few minutes, letting Lyra process the unfamiliar feeling of being truly seen and accepted. Then, almost shyly, Lyra pulled out a small object from the pocket of her jacket. A rough sketch she had drawn during the long trip from her planet to Earth. I made this, she said, handing it to Marla, her hands trembling slightly. It's me, I think. Or maybe how I feel. Marla took the sketch carefully, studying the lines and shapes, and saw the depth of emotion captured in the strange, alien strokes. This is beautiful, Lyra, she said, her voice full of warmth. You have a way of showing the world how you feel, even when words fail you, and that is a gift. Lyra's face brightened just a little, a small spark of pride flickering in her eyes. A gift? She asked, uncertainty still lingering. Yes, Marla said, smiling. Your gift is your heart, your courage, and your ability to survive and still create, even when life has been cruel. That's rare, Lyra, and it's worth more than anyone's. The idea of beauty. For the first time, Lyra allowed herself to lean slightly against Marla. A small, hesitant gesture of trust. Maybe someone could love me for that, she said softly, almost afraid to hope. Marla reached out and gently held her hand. Someone will, Lyra, and if it takes time, we'll wait. Because love isn't about appearances, it's about seeing the soul of a person, and your soul is full of light, even if your body tells a different story. The alien girl nodded slowly, her small frame trembling slightly. But the warmth in her chest was unmistakable, the kind of warmth that only comes when someone finally feels seen, understood, and safe. Hours passed, and they talked quietly about other things too. Lyra describing the worlds she had seen, the places she had lived, and the people she had lost along the way. Marla listening, learning, and realizing that every scar, every mark, every tremor of fear in this girl's body carried a story of survival, courage, and resilience. By the time evening settled over the city, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Lyra had relaxed, slightly, sitting up straighter, a small smile tugging at her lips. Maybe I could try being adopted, she said, almost shyly. If someone wants me. Marla's heart swelled, and she squeezed Lyra's hand gently. You don't have to wonder about that anymore, Lyra. I will help you find someone who sees you, truly sees you, not just your scars, not just your differences, but your heart, your courage, and your light. Lyra nodded, eyes shining with a mixture of tears and hope. Thank you, she whispered, and for the first time in a long while, the weight of loneliness seemed to lift slightly from her small shoulders. Marla knew this was only the beginning, that the road ahead would be full of challenges, fears, and perhaps rejection. But at that moment, she also knew something important, that with patience, care, and understanding, even the most scarred, most different children could find love, find family, and find themselves. And as Lyra leaned against her chair, drawing a few more sketches on the rough paper, Marla realized that the girl's scars were not just reminders of pain, but symbols of survival, courage, and the possibility of a brighter tomorrow. The next morning, Lyra was quiet, sitting by the window and watching the sunlight dance across the floor. Her small hands traced patterns in the dust on the sill, almost as if she were drawing invisible maps of her memories. Marla entered the room with a soft knock, carrying a tray off breakfast, and smiled gently. Good morning, Lyra. I brought you something to eat. She set the tray down, careful not to disturb the fragile calm in the room. Lyra glanced up, her eyes curious but cautious. Thank you, she whispered, the word barely leaving her lips, and yet it carried a weight of trust that Marla felt deep in her chest. After a moment of silence, Lyra spoke again. I drew something last night. She reached into her pocket and pulled out another sketch, this one more detailed than the first, a small figure standing under a glowing star, her scars visible but soft, almost like threads of silver. Marla studied the drawing, her heart swelling. You're sharing a part of yourself with me, she said softly. That's a brave thing, Lyra, and I'm honored you trust me enough to do it. Lyra's lips trembled, and she nodded. I want someone to see me, not just the scars, but the rest of me too. Marla leaned closer. And I do, Lyra. I see you, every part of you, she said. Your fears, your courage, your heart, everything that makes you who you are. For the first time, Lyra allowed herself to relax slightly, a small smile tugging at her lips. She handed Marla the sketch and sat back, feeling a strange sense of safety she had never known before. Later, that afternoon, Marla brought out a small telescope, something she often used to show children the stars. Do you want to see the sky? She asked, hoping the alien girl would find some joy in it. Lyra's eyes lit up, a rare sparkle of excitement breaking through her usual caution. Yes, she said softly, and for the first time, Marla saw the child behind the scars, curious and eager to experience the world. They spent hours looking at the stars together, Marla pointing out constellations, explaining their stories, and Lyra listening intently, occasionally asking questions about Earth, about humans, about why people sometimes hurt each other. At one point, Lyra turned to Marla, her small hand reaching out to touch the telescope. I like this, she said quietly. It feels peaceful, like nothing can hurt me here. Marla nodded, squeezing her hand gently. That's what I want you to feel, Lyra, safe and seen, even when the rest of the world is harsh. As the evening approached, Lyra leaned slightly closer to Marla, resting her head against her shoulder. A small act of trust that spoke louder than any words. Marla whispered softly, "You're doing wonderfully, Lyra. Every step, every little bit of trust you give me, shows your courage." Lyra smiled faintly, feeling warmth in a way she hadn't felt in years. Her scars still existed, but for the first time, they didn't define her. Marla had shown her that she could be more than the pain she carried. And as they sat together watching the first stars appear in the sky, a quiet promise formed between them, that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, learning trust, love, and acceptance, one small step at a time. The following week, the adoption center received a notice that Lyra's case was being reviewed for transfer. Another facility had requested her, citing her alien appearance as difficult to manage. And Marla felt her stomach tighten, a mix of anger and fear surging through her. She found Lyra in the small garden outside, crouched among the flowers, tracing the petals with her fingers. Her small frame hunched as if she were trying to make herself invisible. "Lyra," Marla called gently, kneeling beside her. "We need to talk." The girl's eyes widened, shadows of worry flickering across her face. "They want to take me away?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "They say I'm too strange, too ugly, even for adoption." Marla felt her chest tighten, anger and helplessness clashing. "No," she said firmly, gripping Lyra's small hands. "They can't do that. Not while I'm here. Not while I know the courage and heart you carry inside." Lyra's shoulders shook, and a single tear traced down her cheek. "But what if they are right?" she asked softly. "What if no one wants me?" Marla cupped her face gently, looking into her luminous eyes. "They are wrong, Lyra. Utterly wrong," she said, her voice steady with conviction. "You are brave, kind, and full of life, and anyone who truly sees you will know that. You are more than scars, more than appearance. You are you, and that is enough." For a moment, Lyra's fear seemed to waver, replaced by a fragile spark of hope. Do you really mean it?" "I mean it with all my heart," Marla said, squeezing her hands. "I will not let anyone take you away from the people who care about you, and I will help you see how special you are." The alien girl hesitated, then slowly leaned against Marla, a quiet trust forming despite the storm around them. I want to believe you," she whispered, and Marla felt the weight of her promise deepen. That evening, Marla went to the center's director, speaking firmly about Lyra's case, her voice carrying determination and conviction. "This child deserves to be seen for who she is, not judged by what she looks like," she said, her words echoing with truth.